Hello guys, this is Panzer 36, and today's video is going to be part 1 in the weathering series featuring this Panzer 3 here. In the video we look at the weathering of the underlying layer, which is the Panzer Gray finish. As you can see, I basically covered up all of it in the end with my whitewash, which I show how to do in part 2 of this series. But some areas of the Panzer Gray finish are visible, and I think it was worth it in the end because it was actually pretty enjoyable, and I got to make a nice video here basically just about weathering Panzer Gray tanks. So in the video I didn't use many advanced techniques like the oil fading and stuff I'm usually into, because that discoloration would be completely invisible because only certain areas of it are visible in whitewash and not large enough areas for that to have any effect. So I mainly focused it on just filter, chipping, and some streaking effects. Nothing too complicated, just fun stuff like that, and it was actually very enjoyable to do. I did enjoy this Panzer 3, all the effects I did on it. And as always guys, hope you enjoyed the video, so let's get into it. And the first step in weathering this turret is going to be to apply a filter. I'm using this filter here. This is the Blue for Panzer Gray by Sin Industries. Essentially a filter is a very thin wash. The difference between the two is that a wash is usually a little bit thicker and you want to apply it just in area. Well, you can apply it over the whole thing, but you want to just let it settle around details to kind of accentuate them or make shadow effects. The filter kind of does the same thing, but the main effect is that it's supposed to kind of make a tint which brings contrast together. So if you have a camouflage pattern, or in this case lots of color modulation, this will just kind of unify it and bring it all together and reduce the contrast, which makes it look a lot more realistic. So the next step in weathering this vehicle is going to be to apply some chipping effects. I mixed up a lighter color, as you can see over here, of the base color of the vehicle, which was actually just a mix of basically black and white because I didn't have any gray. But usually you just take the base color and add some white to it to make it a little bit lighter. We're just going to do some very basic small chipping effects over there with this, and then we'll go in and add a darker, kind of like rusty or a primer color into some of the centers of the bigger chips. Now that the chipping with the light gray is complete, I'm going to do some smaller chips inside the larger sections of those chips. And then for those I'm going to be using just a dark brown oil paint, because oil paint's actually pretty useful for chipping. And I would have used gray oil paints if I would have had them for these chips already, but I just had to use acrylic because it's all I had. So for these chips I'm going to be doing obviously some of it with a brush, but also I'll probably do a little bit with some sponge chipping. And for the sponge chipping you just take, you know, some kind of like foam sponge like this, break off a little chunk, and the pattern that it has on it makes a really nice chipping effect if you just kind of get a little bit of oil paint on it like I have here, and then just lightly dab at it, usually holding it with a pair of pliers. You can get some really nice small chipping effects like that. And now, as the last step on weathering the vehicle before the whitewash, we are going to apply these 3 products here, which are all streaking effect products. I've got AK Interactive's Rust Streaks and Winter Streaking Grime over here, as well as Mig Ammo's Streaking Grime. So we're just going to do some basic streaking effects with these. To create streaking effects, it's fairly simple. You just make some gentle lines using any of the colors here. Right now I'm using the green one, which is the Winter Streaking Grime. So you just make some lines along like that. Doesn't have to be too pretty right now. Just wherever you want streaks to be, you can make some lines with whatever product you want. Now, after the streaks of streaking grime effect have mostly dried, so maybe like 15 minutes, I lightly moisten my brush with a little bit of thinner, not super huge amounts of it, just so that it's lightly damp. And I just gently work at the streaks from both edges, making sure not to actually go over them, but to kind of work in from both sides. This way I get a nice, faint streak effect. And with that, I'm going to say we've completed the weathering effects on the vehicle. Here you can see the hull. I did the exact same thing I did on the turret. I just only showed the turret because, I don't really need to. But as you can see, there's basic chipping effects, streaking effects, with the color modulation on there too, and the filter made it look a little more blue, which I like. But nothing too fancy, because most of this is actually going to be covered up by a whitewash, so I didn't want to make it too special or put a super huge amount of work into it. That's why I didn't do any like oil fading or stuff like that I usually do. But I am very pleased with it right now, and I hope the video helped any of you guys out with just some fairly basic weathering effects to get some nice, just nice weathered look on your vehicle. Nothing too extreme, nothing too difficult, just some fun stuff. So that wraps up this video, and the next video is going to actually cover the weathering of the whitewash. Actually, first probably the applying the whitewash, which I'm going to do with just some chipping fluid and some washable white camouflage, and then I'll just chip it. Hopefully it works well, and then I'll do some weathering effects on it like that. Then I'll probably show doing the diorama and the snow effects in the third video in the series. So as always, thanks for watching, guys. This is Panzer 36, and goodbye.